Hey, fellow note investor. Are you looking to learn the basics of note investing so you can get started? However, you don't want to spend a few hundreds or thousands of dollars and hours online on some training program? Have you thought about attending a notes conference? However, you don't want to spend the money or the time away from your family. Well, we have a tremendous beginners video series of 20 different topics, with each video being less than 15 minutes. This means each video is less fluff and direct to the content. Visit www.jkpholdings.com slash beginner series to learn more. Again, www.jkpholdings.com slash beginner series. Friday afternoon, getting started for the weekend. Trying to get my bearings straight. Got some stuff going on today. Kids going a little crazy. So, Nathan, this is a gorgeous week. I think it's been awesome weather. I don't know when your kids got out of school. Our kids got out of school, so it's been neighborhood fun all week long. A little distracted with that, but we're tuning back into some things, and we're looking forward to progressing.
Yeah, you might hear my daughter. She's downstairs practicing piano. Just go with it. Just go.
You know, it's summer, right? So we're here June 25th. Thank you everyone for tuning in to see what we're doing. It's exciting to be in this arena. And with this going on, I think our issues right now with notes, you know, people are saying that things just where they at. We just don't know where we're at for things, right? It's curious, right? But I think one thing you have to realize is that properties are always going to be there. Sometimes it's a waiting game. Sometimes it's an understanding game. Just knowing where you're at and holding tight to know your values. So,
and when we're in first,
yeah,
we had this discussion a little bit last week, but when you're in first position, that property is really key. And that it matters a great deal because there's a great chance you're taking back that property. So you got to make sure that you know what's going on with it as best as you can. There's never a guarantee on that. You're never going to know every problem that exists with the house, but as best you can.
And with that, let's take a step back even farther. Is most of the assets are not in our backyard.
Right.
Right. So we had a property we're rehabbing right now, and without a local person and our team being there, it's almost impossible to really kind of work our way through things. Mm-hmm. So it's I know the first time I did that was scary, right? Yeah. Rehabbing long distance or even looking at a property that's outside of our backyard and not in our comfort zone. Mm-hmm. You be in Canada, I'll be in Jersey. We don't buy a lot in our backyard. And it just, if the prices are great, we'll buy it, but it's not.
Right.
So most of the assets you're bidding on recently, where they've been located
at? I just picked up a couple in my most recent purchase. I just got one in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And it's a suburb of Oklahoma City. But that's, I don't know how many miles away from me right now. So, you know, I haven't laid eyes on it myself. I did have a realtor go by and have a look. In fact, on this one, it just so happened that I got interior pictures, which is fairly rare. Yeah, we don't usually get that. So I sent him his BPO that he did 6 months ago. And I said, so that combined with these interior pictures, what can you tell me? What do you think we got for value? Just so I could make a proper bid. And it worked out and we were able to get the deal closed very quickly, which is great.
Wow. And it's great when you have those connections, but most people don't have that, or they're not buying an area that they don't have information.
Yeah.
And what most people don't realize is that while you own the asset, if it's vacant or not, one of the keys is to kind of track along the pathway of what's happening with the property. Even if it's, mostly when it's not performing, you're checking on that property regularly to make sure that if something changes, you know when. And that's doing insurance, right? So if the property isn't being maintained or there's an issue with it, we need to know when and how, what happened.
Right.
So photos, local personnel, and that kind of tools and resources. Have you had a situation where you had to actually have somebody go out there? And how often do you check on your non-performers?
When they become, for me, when it's the time between I'm doing, let's say it's a foreclosure where I'm much more concerned with the property. That time where the foreclosure is happening, as soon as the foreclosure is done, I'll have my realtor go out and immediately we'll get to work and see, what we've got. In between then, usually I've got a realtor on tap that can get some kind of idea of what's going on. Without interior access, it can be difficult. Sometimes it can be worked out that you can get in there. The time that that really was essential that I had on the ground information was this past fall. I still have it. There's one property that I've got in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And if that rings any bells for anybody, that's because they had 2 hurricanes hit within 30 days of each other last fall. And just so happens that I had a property there. So great. So I was able to get property preservation out there and check it out and give me a good report that I could then give over to the insurance.
Yep.
And I was able to collect on insurance, which was great.
And that's one of the keys, right? Is knowing if something does happen, when. Because insurance companies want to know not what damage was, but what was it before, when it happened, what caused it.
Yeah.
And I'll share a story. We dealt with issues where there was water problem in a house. And without knowing what happened, I could never file that insurance claim.
Yeah.
But knowing the fact that the house was fine here, then the incident happened, I can narrow it down. We usually check our non-performers every 2 months. We'll do a quick check and see what the property condition is. I'll get some pictures, and it's worth the investment. It's not expensive. But then if there is an issue, we're immediately hiring them our private preservation to go out and do that work. Right. So with that said, we want to bring on our special guest. Randy's joining us from NVMS, who is a nationwide property preservation company who really helps out and understands what we're looking to do. He's been in the space for a long time. So, Randy, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in property preservation in general.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on today. Yes, I've had a lot of experience with real estate through the years. I worked with MGIC, and then I worked with Summit Valuations. And now I'm involved with NVMS, and we do the nationwide preservation and property inspection services to assist various types of clients across the nation, whether it be government agencies, private lenders, note buyers, portfolio purchasers, you name it. We're servicing banks, we're servicing credit unions, we're servicing anyone who needs to confirm the condition of their assets and to make sure that their assets are protected. That's one of the main things that we focus on and we pride ourselves on, is the fact that we're making sure we're doing the work we're the eyes of our clients, basically, and getting them the information they need to make solid investment decisions and to make sure that their investments are protected.
Gotcha.
And then you were mentioning before about with the hurricane situation in Louisiana, Nathan, and that's one of the features that we offer, where whenever there's disasters across the country, whether it be wildfires, floods, etc., our services are used to have our field reps confirm that the assets there and what the condition is, etc., so that the real estate investors know how to handle the situation and take it from there.
Right. which was invaluable for me. And, you know, the cost is not huge, but the information that I get from that was absolutely valuable.
So, you know, Randy, I think for product probation, there are some misguided understanding of what they do and don't do, right?
Okay.
What is some of the, I guess, things that you guys offer? What are some services you offer, particularly for note investors, but for REOs who are people outside the local area of that property? What are some of the services that you can suggest?
Okay, well, I'll give you some examples. Like when you're dealing with the foreclosure and you're taking over that property, we're going to be the first to go in there and assist with the securing of that property and doing the total clean out of the property, and to make sure that it's maintained then from the time that you acquire that property all the way through to the point of renting the property or the disposition of that property. So we're making sure that it's clean. There's maid service, there's the lawn care. During the winter time, we're doing snow removal. We're doing to make sure that the property's fully winterized. And then in the spring, we're doing the de-winterization. We're doing all the types of services to make sure that that property is protected, basically.
And then can I pick and choose services? Like if I just want the lawn cut or just snow removal or something like that, is that doable?
Definitely. And a nice thing about our group is we're not just we're not focused like some of the other companies out there where they're focused on like just volume and they're dealing with some of the big corporations. We're one of the few in the nation that deals with where a client might only have one a month, you know, a note buyer, where he's acquiring a property in a different state. So we're his eyes in that state, and we're making sure that that investment's protected. So that's where we're different than a lot of the other providers, the nationwide providers out there, and to be the eyes of the client and to make sure that, like, we did a walk around for you, Nathan, that time, and that's where once you have title of the property, we're able to go onto that property and do a full walk around the property to show you photos from all the sides, show you what the condition is, and we're able to get access. Then we're doing the interior, giving you full interior shots of all the rooms, etc., showing you what needs to be done. We also offer, if you decide that you want a repair bid right away, any repairs needed, we're taking care of that as well right away for you, so that you know, okay, this is what it would cost to get all the trash removed, the damages that might be in some of the rooms, etc. If there's any damage on the outside, and if there's anything that needs to be done around the property, we give you the full estimate on that as well. But you definitely can pick what services you want. So it's any kind of service that you need on a property. Basically, we're doing it. Whether there's a pool on, if there's a swimming pool that needs to be fully cleaned out, etc., we're doing that as well. So,
what is the service that most people don't use that they should? What is something that most people either don't know about, or maybe they're just being cheap, whatever? What is something that you see that people are missing out on that they shouldn't be?
Well, I'm just trying to think what they would be missing out on, because I think if they're taking over a property, you know, getting that full inspection right away done, just so you know where you stand, and getting a bid would be advisable. Now, we don't charge for the bid if we're doing something else on the property. So if you want to get a full picture where you stand with it, I'd say just making sure you know exactly where you stand right from the beginning when you acquire it.
Yeah.
And know all the details. And I think if you take that extra step, it's worth it, because otherwise you might find out, shoot, I took over this property and I see all this other stuff that I wasn't aware of. And then I've got all these extra costs that I didn't anticipate. There's problems with the roof, et cetera. And I've got all these extra costs that I wasn't counting on. So I think getting a full inspection done like that helps, just to let you know where you stand.
I think it's
But,
key. You
yeah.
don't know what's going on there. So
Right.
to assume that the front lawn looks nice, the backyard's great, or the pool's fine,
Mhm.
is something you should not be missing out on or cheaping out on. Get someone there. And these guys are professionals. These aren't just somebody, some 17-year-old kid taking pictures.
Right. And our real estate group, our real estate professionals, we deal with certified inspectors. We're dealing with appraisers that are actually doing these type of services, as well as realtors and brokers across the country. So we've got real estate professionals that are a wide range of a variety of knowledge, et cetera, and they're experts in their field. So I think that's important too, to make sure you got a good field service that's taking care of you.
Yeah, oftentimes I'll get a realtor to go out and do that for me, but not all realtors are created equal. So I'll have one realtor that's on the ball, can get me out an estimate right away, and then I'll have somebody else who I'm following up with for 2 weeks before anything happens. And it's a waste of time. So it's worth it just to go with somebody that I know is going to deliver, because that's their business.
Right. And the nice thing about us is that you have access to everything, basically. Anything that you would need to take care of that property, we're able to do that for you. So it's like a one-stop shop, a one-stop service center. You don't have to go looking and scrambling to handle those types of services. And that's what a lot of our clients like, is they don't have to have this additional group having to find out all this information for them, because we're taking care of it for them, instead of them having to track down these various types of services, where it's a one service handles everything, basically. So I think that's what a lot of people like about the fact that we're so involved with all aspects, even assisting with handling, if needed, an eviction type service, where we're doing eviction registrations, et cetera, or delivering notifications to the occupants, letters from the lenders, et cetera. So we're handling all that kind of stuff. So it varies with we're doing. I think our combination with the preservation and all the different types of inspections we offer, that gives a full encompassing program for our clients to have access to.
So when you're looking at these services, is it something common to get different quotes? Or are we working with one quote from one contract that you guys have already licensed and can trust in that area?
Yeah, we're working. We work with a bunch of different contractors and inspectors in the various parts of the nation. We have over 36,000 field reps, and then we've developed this network since 2003. So this is a huge network that we've developed, and I think that's very important, because not only are they experienced, we have certain types of criteria that we require to be part of our field reps, and that is really important, that they follow our requirements and guidelines. So I think by having these experienced professionals, that's where it really makes a difference, and they're following the guidelines that we've developed over the years, to make sure we're following city codes and requirements, neighborhood requirements, et cetera. We're making sure that we're in compliance with everything. So that's important too.
And these are all local people, so they would know those local
right
bylaws
exactly.
and things.
Right.
And
And we go with the best field reps we have in any given area, to make sure that we're going to meet your deadlines, which could range. Say our standard might be 5 days, 3 to 5 days, but we can get it down to 2 business days for you. Make sure you're getting the services, and then And if you need, in addition, we do emergency services too. So we're doing board ups and tarping, pumping if you had flood damage, et cetera. We're pumping out the water. So any kind of emergency service that you need as well, we're able to do that within that 2 business days to meet your needs. So
That's huge.
amazing.
Yeah, that's huge.
So when you have a situation where there's a property damage, hurricane or whatever hit it, the investors are freak out. If they're smaller, if they're bigger, it's something they've been through. What is the process for the investor to know what the next step is? Tree fell through the roof, something happened. What is typically the process from us reaching out to you to do the property preservation to go into the insurance company? What do we need to know? What should we make sure you guys check out? Because you guys do what we say to do, but sometimes we don't know what to say. So what would you recommend for an investor who's has a situation where they think there's a problem, or they're just regularly checking it out, and you report back to them, hey, XYZ's visual?
Okay. Yeah, and that's something we do too, because we service insurance companies across the nation as well to make sure we're confirming condition of properties. So what you want to do is, say you would get set up with the service, or anybody out there could have access to the service. You get set up with us. We get you have a 15 to 20-minute website demo. We have a disclosure agreement form that's only like 5 pages. We send that to you to execute that you acknowledge what terms of our services. There's no volume requirements to have access to the service. There's no annual or monthly fee. You just order when you need to. And then once we deliver the service, you would be paying for the service based on whatever billing cycle you selected to receive. So once you're set up with us, then to deal with that type of situation, you would just place an order in our system. We'd send our field, you can have special instructions telling us what you need done to make sure that we're covering everything that you want with that inspector in the field. And then we're going to make sure we take photos of all the damages that, like you mentioned, with a tree hitting the roof, et cetera, multiple photos. You can designate exactly what you want completed on the notes that you're placing in our system when you're placing the order. So if you need us to focus on anything extra that you want to make sure that they address for you, we can even customize our inspection forms for certain situations. And that we're one of the few that can do that. We don't charge extra for that, where we're doing customization of inspection forms as well. So to make sure if there's certain things that you're going to need for every one of your inspection orders, we're going to have that out there for you on that inspection form. So that's another part of it. But to get that information over to the insurance, it's making sure we document the type of criteria that you need done, and then to make sure we're getting you all the photos. And then if you need us, I'd recommend getting that repair bid right away too, because you're going to need that for the insurance agent as well, or dealing with the insurance, to make sure they know, okay, this is the situation. This is all the damage that we were able to uncover. So that's what I'd recommend.
Okay. Nathan, what administration you've been in where you've had to, where damage has been done, or repairs to be done? What has been your experience with property preservation?
One of the biggest things that I have to deal with, and just kind of based partially on where I'm purchasing, is winterization. And that becomes really key. And so in October or so, I'll kind of look and see what I've got and what I know is vacant, and we'll send out a property preservation just to make sure it's winterized if I don't know that it's winterized already. Just to be sure, because busted pipes is really no fun, and it can just ruin your entire investment.
Yes, definitely.
So that's a big one. It's just winterization, making sure that's done before it gets too cold.
And we've learned as we go along, right, of experience that we've been through. One of my famous stories, we had a problem with a property. It wasn't NVMS, but we had another property preservation. This is 2014 or so, where a property actually was winterized. We found flooding. They tarped the roof, nailed XYZ number of nails.
Yeah.
2 years later, we got that property back, walked into a flood. And says, what happened? We found out they actually took the meter off the inside the house. The meter was on inside, and the part that came from the main actually had a pinhole, and it's been dripping
no.
for over 3 to 4 years.
Oh no.
They winterized the inside, which is fine. They tarped and nailed a roof that was actually within 2 to 3 years old. It was pretty much a new roof. However, what I learned from there is that private preservation company that I work with wasn't willing to work on the other side of it. Like, you didn't take pictures of, of where you disconnected and winterized.
Right.
And the issue was, well, we're sorry. And it's like, well, that doesn't help me at all. Right. So working with a private preservation company is more than just hiring one, is knowing who to trust, knowing one that's reputable, knowing one that knows what they're doing and it can work for the customer. That situation alone was a cheaper private preservation company that I was going with. It was
Right.
a lower end property.
Yeah.
But now looking back, if I would have spent a little bit extra money,
Yeah.
which isn't a lot of money, to do it the right way, that would have saved that property, and we would have made money in the situation instead of, I think we broke even just by a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've been around for any length of time, anytime you've gotten a report or
Yeah.
due diligence documents before you purchase, you're bound to have seen an NVMS report in there. They've been around a long time. They've been doing this quite a long time.
Yeah. So I know a lot of the big funds are using NVMS, so newer investors, and most people go to their servicers, right? Randy, are you work directly with servicers currently, correct?
Correct. And that was a good point that you brought up where with the situation you had, because we take pictures before we do any work and then we take them after.
Yeah.
So that you know what the situation was before, and then you know where we corrected it. We're also putting signage on the property too, to evidence say that this was completed on such and such dates. So that's another service we offer where we're putting signage on properties whenever we're doing a service and whenever our client needs signage placed on properties. So that as well. So yeah, I really think that's critical for you to see what all the damage was, and then that everything's been corrected. Because if you don't know, like you said, you had that situation, that's a credible loss then from when you have flood damage. So you don't.
And it turned the mold, which is on top of it, right?
I mean, you can't ask for a worse situation.
Oh, and basically we did is we gut the whole house, spent money, gut the whole house, and Kevin's on, and we gutted the whole house, and then we sold our financing as is to a local investor that was buying it. I'm sure he did a great job. He paid us back the money, the whole works. It was great. But it's a shame, right? You get a situation where now the roof that's perfectly fine is damaged, and the plumbing they just ripped things apart, took a quick couple pictures, and that was it. And they couldn't even prove the roof was leaking. They had no. It's like, you show me the underlay of the roof, show me the fact that you knew that's where the problem was. We had like 6 pictures.
You could easily go up in the roof and then see if there's any water on the top of the inside of the roof.
Yeah, the rafters. Yeah.
See if there's any on the rafters, or if there's any damage at all. So that was definitely a mistake that should have never occurred.
Yeah.
So
we've also had properties where we had a property we bought for like 60 grand. ARV was like $150. It was in Ohio, and private preservation's allowed me to know I shouldn't go any farther than I am, right? Don't put any more money into this property. Don't go crazy. This property break even, right? It needed so much, even like little things, the pool, the flooring ripped up, doorways were jammed, looked like dog ate stuff, like just destroyed. We thought we walked in a good situation, and we always say, right, you buy a note, you have no clue what you're walking into. The balance that loan was $85,000. We bought it for like $60. ARV was like $150. It was a double lot. We were all ecstatic. And it's like, well, the pool's a little messed up. And then we walk in.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's like, well, it's going to be about 80 grand rehab. Well, that's not going to be worth it. Like,
Right.
so in as comfortable we are, trusting people to do work at that scale outside your local area is difficult, right? I have no problem doing $20,000 rehab long distance. But when you're getting to the 50, the 70, the $80,000 rehabs, unless you're comfortable and you know the situation or you have that team you trust, it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just tough, right?
Yeah.
Prioritization, as much as we don't talk about it, oddly enough, is key. One of our key items that are one of our team members that we need to be using, trusting and realizing what the report says, how to read the report.
Yeah. So here's another situation where I found it very, very helpful to have an actual report. So how many times have you taken back a property and a realtor gets in there and they say, oh, it needs a lot of work? I have no idea what that means. What's a lot of work to you?
Yeah.
Or it's in rough shape or something like that.
Yeah.
Some vague.
Give me the facts.
I need the facts where they're like, oh, it's in rough shape, really needs a lot of work. I'm like, okay, like what? Like I can't go with these vague statements. I need facts and data. And so again, you can get a property preservation in there and pictures and reports and actual somebody that knows what they're talking about when they're talking about what repairs need to be done and which ones don't.
And even if you have a local agent that you do trust or them locally, you don't know who else is in their back pocket, right? Because hey, listen, the roof needs to be redone. Is that because your brother-in-law is the roofer? Like,
yeah,
it's always that question mark. When you're working with a third-party preservation company, they give you the facts, show you the pictures, and let you decide what to do with it.
Yeah. And how often have I been told it needs a lot of work, and I get the pictures and I go, oh, you mean it's just full of trash?
A trash out.
I don't care. I don't care about a trash out,
Yeah.
$1,000, $2,000 to get that trashed out. And then it looks fine. It's dirty and it's, run down, but it's in good shape, but you don't know that until you get something in there that can actually tell you what's actually going on.
Oh, it's a shame.
But
so Randy,
super valuable.
What kind of crazy stories do you have of property preservation you've seen pictures of? I know we have one famous one. Was it that a UPS plane part fell in Wayne's house?
I saw that. I saw that when we came through the roof.
Yeah, I love that was Wayne and Natalie's
place. Unbelievable. I know. I think one that would be unique is having one of those sinkholes take care of your house. That would probably be something that's going to be very difficult for you to take care of. So that would be my unique one for you, the sinkhole situation.
But get all the information you can. Do you remember the one, Dave? This was a few years back. I think we talked about it in our group where it was coming from a certain seller, and it was in St. Louis, I want to say.
Okay.
And we found out the front of the house, everything looked great, except the back of the house and the basement, the wall was just absent. Like it just was not there.
Yes.
They were trying to sell this.
The whole thing was gone. It was like, wait, it's like someone chopped it.
Yeah. Yeah. So get all the information you can.
Yeah. And they're going to show pictures of, hey, listen, we got to drive by. No, you get a full property preservation pictures and you exclude the one showing the backyard.
Right.
Yes, I do remember. Yes, that was crazy. Like, holy God. And we normally do quick Google Maps look of it and check it out.
And without front
physically looking at it. Yeah, our friend. Hey.
Looked great.
Yeah.
You definitely want to get a walk around inspection.
Yeah.
Definitely. I highly recommend it. Instead of just doing a drive-by where they're taking the front shot, they're taking neighborhood shots too, just so you know what type of neighborhood, how the houses are in the area, etc. But I'd highly recommend if you took title to that property, you're going to want to get a walk around, where we're able to get on the premises because you have title.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as possible, you're trying to get all the information you can, which again, it's not always possible. And that's where the surprises are in this business, and it happens. But as much as you possibly can, find out whatever information you can legally and ethically and all that.
Yeah.
But
So-
you want to get that info.
So, we've dealt with our issues with properties. And a lot of times our properties damages are not collectible. It's something we can't get from insurance for whatever reason. Where the borrowers is being a pain in the butt. What do you advise investors who are nervous about going outside their local market to be able to entrust a company like a nationwide property valuation company to be their eyes and ears to evaluate a property and give us factual information that we can believe, trust, and move forward with?
If this question's to me, okay, all right. I would say that because we're a third party and our whole goal is to service our clients, to make sure that they're fully protected. I think that aspect, by being a third party, unbiased third party, is huge.
Yes.
Because like you guys were mentioning before, there could be certain influences on information that's given, whereas we're just trying to give you a total insight as to the situation with your investment asset.
Sure.
So we're going to want to make sure we give you all the details that you need to make an informed decision as to what your next steps are. Whether if you were dealing with a delinquency situation, we try to assist our clients to get notifications to the occupants, to make communications with our client, to make sure that if there's ways to make a repayment, to get on a repayment plan, etc., to avoid further situation. But in those situations where there is no communications going on and you need to take your next course of action, and it goes to foreclosure, then we're just making sure you're prepared for your next steps, to give you the information to pursue that action next. Once you take over the property, then we're there for you to make sure that we do all the securing, any kind of board up you need, etc., to make sure it's protected, and where we're securing multiple locks. So initially we would do a secure with a lockbox, but if you wanted then multiple locks on the property, we can do that as well to make sure it's secured. But the board up feature too, that comes in handy, especially in areas where there was damage to windows from natural disasters, etc. So I think by us being your eyes in those locations, that you're not near these properties a lot of times that you're making these investment decisions on, by us being your eyes in those areas, and our job is almost like a fiduciary responsibility to you, in terms of we want to make sure you're protected, and that's what we pride ourselves in, and to make sure that we're performing maintenance on the property that's going to protect it, and giving you all the information you need to make decisions as to your next steps. I think that's where our service is very helpful.
And how long has the company been around for?
2003.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2003 when it was founded, and since then we were from my knowledge, we're the first vendor management company across the nation, at least one of the first, and we're I'd say one of the top providers in the industry today.
Yeah.
So I know you. Our reputation means a lot to us, so that's why we make sure that our clients are satisfied with the service we provide.
Yeah, I mentioned to a friend of mine, is part of a larger hedge fund, and I mentioned we're doing guys, and he's, oh yeah, we use them all the time. So
Okay.
yes, the larger funds are using these guys, but they also service the little guys too.
Mhm.
And you can either go through your servicer to contact its property preservation company, or you can reach out directly, right? Your servicer should allow you to reach out directly to these companies to make sure you're working with someone reputable, like working with an attorney. So your best thing is let your servicer know you're reaching out and you're gonna make this claim, or you're gonna set up a bi-monthly, which we usually do, check on our properties, and then get that full valuation. Randy, can you off the top of your head, do you know how much it is for a quick property check, just like a property preservation review of the property to see what the property is and what it looks like?
Yeah, it's in the $55 range, 55 to do a full walk around.
So for investors, $55 on a bi-monthly cost is nothing, right? Let's see what's going on. So I think that, it's worthwhile to check this out for $60. You're getting an eyes and ears on that property, especially in the wintertime. But if it's in the south, you're worried about hurricanes hitting it, storms hitting it, all kinds of stuff can happen. So just checking eyes and ears on it.
All that
And if
stuff.
something happens, you need that data for insurance purposes. What happened now, in 2 months from now, we know we can narrow it down to that 2-month period. If you wait 8-10 months, you have no clue when it happened. It's part of your costs.
And I'd like to add to that, David, is our services are also used as a QC manager, like where we're actually QCing other providers. So we're actually making sure certain services are handled properly. So we have clients that use us to QC their other hired contractors for maintaining the property to make sure that these things that they say are being done. So that's another service that we offer through the inspection side of it.
Yeah, that's great. If you can spend less than $60 to double check your contractor, make sure they're doing what they said they're going to do, or the property manager, or whoever it is that say they're going to go out and do that, just to double check. To double check if you have any questions of whether or not the work's getting done.
And then someone mentioned in our fee that they want to try you out locally to get an idea of what you're like, what experience you have. I'm telling you guys, you may not know the NVMS title, but you've seen the reports.
Yeah.
If you looked at assets, NVMS is not what you may recognize, but you're going to say that you've seen the reports once you see them. They're standardized. They're around the whole industry. They've been around forever. But we brought them on not to say, listen, check it out, but to understand that this is something that you really should put part of that team of people, right? You have your agents, you have this, but property valuation, while it's not performing or even performing, most time we don't deal with the women performing, but when it's not performing, we need to have someone look at that property. If there's people living in it, right? If there's someone doing whatever, right? And also to see about the property condition changing, if hoarding is going on or something crazy going on the outside, that we need to make sure that property is being maintained. That's part of the contract with the mortgage is that property maintains. If your grass gets too tall, your city's going to come and give you a fine and cut it. And in Ohio, they have a $10,000 bond. Like it's not fun, guys. So this is the reason why you really should tune in and make sure you're using a service just to check out things like this. Because for $55, you're going to be paid much more in fines to the city or the county.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's on my list today. I've got some grass that needs to get cut down in Mississippi. So I was going to reach out to you guys today.
And Randy, when we have a situation like that, where we have, grass cutting and MSs in sense, can we schedule a situation where we have a weekly cutting?
Yes, that's it, definitely. And like some of our clients, they have us on a regiment where we're doing weekly maintenance on properties. So you could definitely get on that type of a weekly maintenance program. And some of our clients, they even want a flat fee program where we're managing a bunch of properties for them at the same time, like some of them hundreds of properties that we're managing for them. And then they don't want to, they want multiple services, so they'll be a flat fee program. So we're taking care of the maid service, we're taking care of the lawn, we're taking care of the pool, on a weekly basis, where they go with that type of program as well. So you've got a lot of different options to select from NVMS. So that makes it nice too, to make sure
That's
any
awesome.
type of situation that comes up for you, we got you covered.
That's awesome. Well, Randy,
Yeah,
you've
well
been in the
worth
space for a long time. You know this space well. The company's been around for a long time. You know, investors sometimes are cheap. Sometimes they, but I also think more else, I think investors sometimes don't know what they don't know. They
Right.
don't know that this is what power preservation does. They don't know what the downfall of not looking at stuff regularly. They don't know, like, let's just band-aid the roof, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And I think for me, you know, with properties, the way they're going up in value, maintain that property, just keeping it in a good standing situation will allow you to sell the property as is or maintaining it. And sometimes allows you to know when you're going to foreclosure, right? If it's vacant, you can get inside pictures and take a look at it and know what you could do at the auction. If that property is in great condition and you got inside photos because you winterized it, you have a great opportunity to go to the auction and bid well.
Mhm.
For the flip side is if the property is in bad condition, which I've done before, right? And property condition is like just crazy. It's like the one in Ohio. I'm gonna just bid as low as I can at the auction just to get rid of it. I don't want the chance of it coming back.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's important that you make the corrections right away, just to
Yeah.
prevent further damage, because you don't want to increase your losses on it. So that's where I think that's critical to make, because it might only be a few dollars for you up front just to make some of those
Yeah.
corrections when you know that there's issues there, to prevent from thousands of dollars of being an issue because the damage further escalated. So I think that's critical.
Okay. So we were wondering, part of the timing and bringing you on here at the end of June is we're seeing eviction moratoriums and things are supposed to be ending at the end of the month. I know some places have extended, but generally speaking, we're talking the end of June.
Mhm.
Are you guys expecting to see properties coming up available and things coming up as a result of problems associated with COVID, or is that something you guys are planning on?
Well, yeah, we're ready for that situation, because and that's where we're helping our clients to make sure that they know if the properties are occupied or vacant, so that they know, okay, this thing's not being taken care of, it's been vacated, etc. And we're ready to react once they release those moratoriums as quickly as possible to do any kind of eviction service that's needed, eviction registration, etc., and then secure those properties, especially when they're not being occupied or maintained. And that's where we're doing that occupancy verification checks, where we can either do a drive-by verification for you, where we're seeing they have a lot of different ways that they determine if there's an occupant at the property. But then we're also doing that door knock feature and doing that confirmation where sometimes we're going back to these properties three to four times until we get an answer for you, to make, and then we're also attaching that the collection letter according to whatever guidelines are for and requirements. So for the lenders.
How large do you guys see these? I don't know if internal numbers you have, but how large of a problem do you see once COVID moratoriums end or when things happen? Are you guys seeing significant numbers where like it's gonna be a floodgate, or where do you guys think things are gonna be?
I think it's going to be pretty excessive. I think it's going to be, and I think that's why our clients are trying to determine where they stand now and doing some occupancy checks just to get an idea on what's going on with these properties. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be pretty heavy. It hasn't hit that stage yet, but
Yeah.
once they release it, it's gonna be gangbusters where people are gonna be looking for providers to get them the information that they need.
I know I mentioned before, one of our mutual friends is in the REO space, and they said, listen, we're selling assets like crazy right now. When the moratoriums end and the floodgates happen, it's gonna be hard to sell things because I think things are gonna kind of base out because there's gonna be so many properties on the market.
Right,
Um,
exactly. That's
Pretty tough.
exactly. Yeah.
so,
It'll be interesting to see some data as
yeah.
time goes on here to see what all the numbers
I
look
did
like.
see
We'll
some recently that it was 8 million homes that are kind of expected that, most of that's rentals.
Yeah.
Where, rentals are behind, landlords can't foreclose or evict or anything, or, can't evict, and they're
Yep.
stuck. So that's
I've
gonna be
got a
interesting
couple
to
of those.
see, and it's tough. But it's
Yeah.
cool. Well, Randy, I really appreciate you coming on with us and spending this Friday afternoon with us, and giving your insight, giving your knowledge, and your experience, and making sure that the investors feel comfortable with reaching out to product preservation, knowing that they're not just somebody who's just trying to get your business, but they're to actually support you and non-biased, but have a huge wealth of knowledge, plus a network of people that you can get any work you need done on a regular basis or a one-time off situation at a reasonable price.